Imagine you are starving, and someone you admire, someone you believe holds the key to your nourishment, occasionally walks by and tosses you a single dry crumb of bread. In that moment, the crumb feels like everything. You lunge for it. You savor the momentary rush of relief, a taste that feels almost like hope. You are filled with a strange and painful gratitude for this tiny morsel. But a moment later, the relief is gone, and the deep, gnawing hunger returns, now laced with a desperate, obsessive anticipation for the next crumb. This is not a story about food. It is the emotional reality of the crumbs relationship. It is the life of a woman who is subsisting on a starvation diet of low-investment affection. The crumbs take many forms in the modern world. It is the low-effort hey text that arrives after 3 days of silence, a tiny morsel of connection designed to keep you on the hook. It is the last-minute invitation that clearly signals you are an option, not a priority. It is the vague, sweet-sounding promise of a future that never arrives. It is the hour of intense connection, followed by a week of cold distance. Each of these is a crumb, just enough to keep your hope alive, but never ever enough to truly nourish your soul. In our hunger, our entire focus becomes the one who is tossing the crumbs. We watch them, we wait for them, we analyze their behavior, we strategize how to position ourselves to receive the next one. Our life becomes a constant, anxious vigil. But what if the solution to your starvation has nothing to do with him? What if the most powerful thing you can do has nothing to do with demanding more bread or begging for a full meal? What if the answer is not in getting more from him, but in learning to feed yourself? This video will reveal the one thing you must do immediately, the very next time you are offered a crumb. It is not a tactic to manipulate him. It is a profound act of self-love that will change the dynamic forever. It is the first, most crucial step in learning to walk away from the table of crumbs and beginning, finally, to prepare your own magnificent feast. Before you can learn to refuse the crumbs, you must first become a master at recognizing them. The most insidious thing about a starvation diet of emotional crumbs is that, to the hungry heart, they can often look like a meal. The first step in reclaiming your power is to see these gestures for what they truly are, the lowest possible investment required to keep you emotionally available. Let us identify the 4 most common types of crumbs. First is the breadcrumb text. This is the quintessential crumb of the modern dating world. It is the short, low-effort and emotionally empty text that arrives after a period of silence. It is the simple, hey, the what's up, the fire emoji on your story. This text has one purpose and one purpose only, to keep you on the hook. It is a man's low-cost, low-risk way of testing the waters, of ensuring that you are still an available option, without him having to make any real investment of his time, his vulnerability, or his intention. It is not an invitation to a real conversation. It is a digital poke to see if you are still warm. A full meal is a text that says, I've been thinking about what you said. I'd love to see you. Are you free on Thursday night at 7? A breadcrumb is a text that says you up. Second is the last-minute invite. This is the crumb of convenience. It is the text that arrives on a Friday afternoon saying, hey, what are you up to tonight? On the surface, it is an invitation, but energetically it is a declaration of your place in his priorities. A woman who is a priority is a woman for whom a man plans. He books her time in advance because he fears that her valuable time will be given to someone or something else. The last-minute invite is a sign that you are not the plan. You are the backup plan. You are the option he is exercising after his other, more important options have fallen through. A full meal is an invitation that honors your time. A crumb is an invitation that assumes your time is endlessly available to him. Third is the vague future promise. This is the most romantic, and therefore the most poisonous of all the crumbs. It is the sweet, hopeful-sounding statement that gestures toward a future, but never commits to one. It is the, we should go to Paris sometime. The, you're the kind of girl a guy could marry. The, I'm just not ready for a relationship right now, but if I were, it would be with you. These are beautiful, intoxicating fantasies. And he is offering them to you to keep you compliant and hopeful in a present that is devoid of any real commitment. He is selling you a ticket to a movie that he has no intention of ever producing. A full meal is a concrete plan, A crumb is a beautiful but empty dream. Fourth is inconsistent affection. This is the crumb that creates addiction. It is the pattern of being pulled in close and then pushed away. It is the week of intense connection, of constant communication, of deep intimacy, followed by a week of cold distance and inexplicable silence. This is intermittent reinforcement, the same principle that makes a slot machine so addictive. The intense highs make you forget and forgive the devastating lows. You live in a constant state of anxiety, waiting for the good version of him to return. A full meal is a consistent, reliable source of nourishment. A crumb is a chaotic and unpredictable cycle of feast and famine that is designed to keep you in a state of perpetual hunger. Now that we have identified the crumbs, we must ask the most important and often most painful question: why do you eat them? Why does a smart, capable, and beautiful woman knowingly subsist on a diet that leaves her starving? The answer is not that you are weak or foolish. The answer is that a deep and wounded part of your psyche, a part that was conditioned long ago, believes that the crumbs are all you deserve. This is the psychology of the grateful beggar. Think of a beggar sitting by the side of the road. Her entire reality is one of scarcity. She does not expect a feast. When a wealthy king passes by and, without even looking at her, tosses a single small coin into her cup, what does she feel? She does not feel anger at his indifference. She does not question why it was only one coin. She is overwhelmed with a profound and desperate gratitude. The single coin is proof that she has not been completely forgotten. It is a sign that she is, at least for a moment, worthy of a king's notice. This is the energy from which a woman accepts emotional crumbs. It is the energy of our orphan archetype, the part of us that carries the deep unworthiness wound. The orphan is the part of you who learned, likely in childhood, that love is a scarce resource. It is a coin to be gratefully received, not a banquet to be expected. Perhaps you had a parent who was emotionally distant, and their rare moments of affection felt like a king's coin, leaving you hungry but grateful. And so now, as an adult, when a man who you have placed on a throne gives you a crumb, a low-effort text after days of silence, the orphan within you rejoices. The feeling you mistake for excitement or a spark is, in fact, the desperate gratitude of the beggar. He remembered me. He noticed me. I am not completely worthless. You are so grateful for the single coin that you forget you are starving for a full meal. This is a profound and painful pattern. You accept the last-minute invite because the grateful beggar inside you is just so thankful to be invited to the castle at all, even if it is only to the servants' quarters. You hold on to the vague future promise, because the grateful beggar is soothed by the dream of one day being invited to the royal banquet, even if she is starving in the present. The first step to breaking this pattern is to see it with a radical and compassionate honesty. It is to recognize that the part of you that gets excited by the crumbs is a wounded child, a beggar who does not know her own worth. You are not a beggar. You are a queen. You are the sovereign ruler of your own magnificent inner kingdom, and a queen does not sit by the side of the road, waiting for a coin from a passing king. A queen sits on her own throne, in her own castle, and prepares her own feast. And she only invites to her table the kings who are willing to bring a feast of their own. So you have recognized the crumbs for what they are. You have understood the psychology of the grateful beggar within you. Now, we arrive at the heart of our journey. What is the one single immediate action you must take the next time you are offered a crumb to begin to break this soul-starving cycle forever? The old pattern of the beggar is to receive the single coin, clutch it tightly, and feel a moment of profound relief. The one thing you must do is to change this pattern. The next time he tosses you a crumb, the one thing you must do immediately is this. You must use the crumb not as a source of nourishment, but as a signal of your own hunger. And you must in that very moment turn away from him and feed yourself a full meal. This is the alchemy. This is the great reversal. It is the practice of self-sourcing the very need you were hoping his crumb would satisfy. Let us be very practical about this. A low-effort "Hey" text arrives on your phone. The beggar within you feels a jolt of excitement. The old you would have replied immediately, engaging with the crumb. The new you, the queen, sees the text. She recognizes it as a crumb. And she recognizes the jolt of excitement not as a sign of his value, but as a sign of her own hunger for connection. So, what does she do? She puts his text aside, and she immediately feeds herself a full meal of connection. She picks up the phone and calls her sister, her mother, or her best friend, someone who is a reliable source of love, and has a real, nourishing conversation. She has used the crumb as a cue to self-source what she was truly craving. Another example. He gives you a small, vague compliment. The beggar within you feels a rush of validation. The old you would have held on to that compliment for the rest of the day. The new you recognizes that what you are hungry for is validation. So, you receive the compliment, and then later that evening you perform the practice of the applause of one. You sit with your journal and you write down 3 things you respect about yourself. You give yourself a full, nourishing feast of your own validation, instead of trying to survive on the single crumb he offered. This is not a game of ignoring him to make him want you more. It is a profound act of rewiring your own nervous system. You are breaking the dopamine loop of intermittent reinforcement. You are teaching your brain and your body that the most reliable and most satisfying source of nourishment is not outside of you, but within you. You are, with every repetition of this practice, breaking your addiction to his crumbs, because you are finally learning how to prepare your own feast. This is the one thing. This is the practice that will change everything. To know that you must feed yourself first is the map. To have a practical, in-the-moment strategy for how to do this is the vehicle that will carry you to freedom. This is the sovereign practice. It is the art of creating a powerful pattern interrupt that will dismantle your addiction to crumbs and build a new neural pathway of self-nourishment. For years, the arrival of his crumb has triggered an automatic response in you. The stimulus, his text, leads to the reaction, your excitement and immediate reply. This is a well-worn neural highway in your brain, a path you have traveled so many times you no longer even notice you are on it. The practice is to, with a conscious and deliberate act of will, get off at a new exit. It is a 3-step process to be performed in the very moment a crumb arrives. First, recognize the crumb and the rush. The text message appears on your screen. Hey. The first thing you must do is become a mindful observer of your own internal reaction. Feel the jolt of energy in your body, the rush of dopamine, the flicker of hope. Do not judge it. Do not shame yourself for it. Simply observe it for what it is. The conditioned response of the grateful beggar, the jolt of the addict's brain anticipating a hit. See it, name it. Ah, there is the rush. Second, the sacred pause and the question. Now, before your thumbs even begin to move, you must create a sacred pause. Take one single conscious breath. This breath is a moment of power. It is the space between the stimulus and the response, and in this space lies your freedom. In this pause, you will ask yourself one diagnostic question. What is the hunger beneath this excitement? What is the feeling I am truly hoping this crumb will satisfy? Is it a hunger for connection, for validation, for a feeling of being desired, for a cure for my boredom? Be brutally honest with yourself. Naming the hunger is the key to knowing how to feed it. Third, the sovereign pivot. This is the one thing. This is the action. Instead of replying to him, you will immediately and deliberately take one small concrete action to feed that hunger yourself. This is the sovereign pivot. You are pivoting your focus from his offering to your own source. If the hunger you identified was for connection, you will immediately use your phone to call your sister, your best friend, or a family member. You will feed yourself a full, nourishing meal of real connection, not the empty calories of his crumb. If the hunger was for validation, you will open your journal or a note on your phone and write down one thing you accomplished that day, one moment you were proud of yourself. You will practice the applause of one. If the hunger was for a feeling of desirability, you will put on a piece of music that makes you feel sensual and you will dance in your living room. You will take a luxurious bath. You will put on the beautiful dress you were saving for a special occasion. You will generate the feeling of desirability from within for your own enjoyment. This is a radical act of rewiring. You are using his crumb as a trigger, not for a reaction toward him, but for an act of devotion toward yourself. With every repetition of this practice, you are building a new road in your brain, and this new road does not lead to his waiting room. It leads directly back to the throne of your own magnificent kingdom. When you consistently practice the sovereign pivot, when you stop reacting to his crumbs and start feeding yourself first, the dynamic between you will inevitably and profoundly change. This practice is not a tactic to manipulate him, but it is a powerful filter that will clearly and efficiently reveal his true character and his true level of interest. There are only two possible outcomes. The first outcome is that the man who is only capable of giving crumbs will disappear. A man who operates on a breadcrumb level of investment is often not a bad person. He is simply a man who is seeking a low-cost, low-risk source of validation and ego gratification. He has learned that he can receive a woman's time, attention, and energy in exchange for the smallest possible investment. You, in your old pattern of the grateful beggar, were a perfect partner for this transaction. But now you have changed the rules of the game. When he sends his low-effort text and is met not with your eager reply but with a powerful and self-possessed silence, he is confused. His pattern is interrupted. He has tossed the coin, but the beggar is no longer there to gratefully pick it up. Your lack of reaction denies him the quick and easy hit of validation he was seeking, and because his interest was never in a deep, nourishing connection, but only in the low-cost transaction, he will simply move on. He will go in search of another grateful beggar, someone who is still willing to trade her feast for his crumbs. At first, this may feel like rejection. The orphan within you may cry, "See, I knew it. He left." But the queen on the throne knows the truth. You have not been rejected. You have been liberated. Your new standard has, with a quiet and beautiful efficiency, filtered out a man who was incapable of meeting you on the level you deserve. You did not lose him. You have made space. The second and more beautiful outcome is that you will inspire the man of substance to offer a feast. A man of substance, a man who has the capacity for a deep and real connection, may have been offering you crumbs simply because that is what you were willing to accept. But when you stop reacting to his low-effort bids, he too will notice the shift, but his reaction will be different. Your newfound self-sufficiency and your quiet, powerful silence will not cause him to retreat. It will cause him to lean in. It will intrigue him. Your lack of a needy reaction is a powerful signal of high value. It tells him, this is a woman of substance. This is a woman who knows her own worth. This is a queen. And he will realize that to earn the attention of a queen, a crumb is not enough. And so he will rise to the occasion. The low-effort hey texts will be replaced by thoughtful questions. The last-minute invites will be replaced by well-planned dates. The vague future promises will be replaced by concrete actions in the present. He will, in essence, realize that to be a guest at your table, he cannot show up empty-handed. He must come with a feast of his own. This is the inevitable result of a woman who refuses to starve. She teaches the world, and the men in it, the high value of her own nourishment. We began this journey in the painful reality of a starvation diet, subsisting on the emotional crumbs of a low-investment connection. We have identified the different forms these crumbs can take. We have understood the psychology of the grateful beggar within us, and we have learned the one profound and life-altering thing we must do. We must feed ourselves first. The secret to stopping a man from giving you crumbs is not to demand a feast from him. It is to so completely and so joyfully fall in love with the feast of your own life that his crumbs no longer even look like food. You teach the world and the men in it how to treat you by what you are willing to accept. As long as you are willing to be the grateful beggar, the world will continue to give you coins. But the moment you stand up, walk away from the side of the road, and claim your own throne, you have changed the entire dynamic. You have declared with your very being that you are a queen, and a queen does not subsist on crumbs. So the invitation is this: commit with a radical devotion to preparing your own magnificent feast. Cultivate your sacred garden. Fall in love with your own company. Become your own source of validation, of joy, and of peace. When you do this, something magical will happen. You will lose your appetite for crumbs. They will no longer excite you. They will, in fact, be slightly insulting. And when you are a woman who is so fully nourished by the banquet of her own life, you will radiate a powerful and undeniable truth, that anyone who wishes to have a seat at your table must bring a feast of their own,